Hello guys, this is Geranium Battle, coming at you now with another deck list profile of my box of spam. Now KohnMar, which is a channel I have subscribed to, has recently posted a video asking other people to start making videos for them. Well, I'm going to take them up on their offer, and I'm going to show you my deck profile. I'm going to talk to you now about Box of Friends. Yes, Box of Friends, the monster that could. Box of Friends is a 0/0 attack monster and defense monster, and what it is when it is destroyed, it special summons two normal monsters with either 0 defense or 0 attack from the deck. Not from the hand, from the deck. Box of Friends, since it has only 0 defense, can be destroyed quite easily, and it doesn't even have to be by your opponent. It's just whenever it's destroyed. However, it does have a time limit. By your end phase, you need to have used these monsters or else they are destroyed. Now, Box of Friends doesn't have a level requirement. It can be used with anything from level 1 to level 12, except there are no level 12 normal monsters with 0 attack or defense, so you can't really use it with that. But it works really well with level 4 monsters, because since it special summons 2 of them, you can make any rank 4 XYZ you want to. So, I'm playing as many level 4 normal monsters as possible, except I am excluding one of them because he sucks. He's an earth monster, 1600 attack, 0 defense. Don't really worry about him. I just put in 3 Blazing Impaki, 3 Gemknight Garnet, 3 Gemknight Sapphire, and 3 Soul Tiger. And the Blazing Impaki and Gemknight Garnet, even if you don't special summon them from the deck with Box of Friends, they're still pretty good beaters, and Soul Tiger and Gemknight Sapphire are still very good defensive walls, even if they aren't being used with Box of Friends. Now, you may have noticed, Gemknight Garnet and Gemknight Sapphire are both Gemknights. So, if you wanted, you could put in Gemknight Fusion into this deck, which would then allow you to make some of the many Gemknight Fusion monsters. You could also add in some other Gemknight monsters. It's just a different build of what is essentially the same deck. Next, Masked Chameleon. Masked Chameleon special summons a monster with 0 defense from the graveyard. Well, Gemknight Garnet, Blazing Impaki, and Box of Friends all have 0 defense, so they are all targets with Masked Chameleon. Masked Chameleon, since it is then a level 4, can be used with either Gemknight Garnet or Blazing Impaki to make any rank 4 XYZ. Masked Chameleon is also a tuner, so if you wanted to put in some level 8 synchros, you could, but Masked Chameleon can only be normal summoned when all of the monsters on the field are below level 5, or monsters on your side of the field. Your opponent can have some monarchs or anything like that. You could still normal summon Masked Chameleon. But if you have a synchro monster, that's going to be above level 5, and then you can't normal summon your other Masked Chameleon. So I just got rid of that confusion, and I just put in XYZ monsters for it, since it works extremely well with the deck. Then Rescue Rabbit. Rescue Rabbit has become extremely popular because of the Dino Rabbit deck. The Dino Rabbit deck uses dinosaur normal monsters and Evilzar XYZ monsters to create what is essentially an unbreakable field. Evilzar Lagia or Evilzar Dolka, which is not pictured here, would be created just from a single Rescue Rabbit, and then you'd be able to negate any effect, any spell or trap card. It's just really good. So I'm using Rescue Rabbit here because I have so many different normal monsters, and I only need 2 of the same name in my deck for it to be live. Rescue Rabbit can banish itself from the field in order to special summon any 2 normal monsters with the same name from your deck. So, if you have 2 Blazing Impaki in your deck, special summon both of them. Then, you can still attack with them. With Box of Friends, you can only special summon them in defense. But with Rescue Rabbit, you can still attack with them, and then go into your XYZ. So if I special summoned 2 Blazing Impaki, I could then deal 3,700 damage before making my Black Ship of Corn, and then dealing another 1,000 because they still have a monster somehow. Next, Zombow Wow. Zombow Wow is a card that, when destroyed, special summons a level 1 monster with 0 attack and 0 defense from the deck. Then, during your next end phase, the monster would be destroyed. Zombow Wow was released along with Box of Friends and clearly works extremely well with it, because it does the destruction for Box of Friends, and it special summons it from the deck. But that's not Zombow Wow's only ability. Zombow Wow, when it attacks, gains 500 attack, not until the end phase, but for the rest of the duel. Now, Box of Friends does destroy the monsters during your end phase, but Konami has ruled it so that Zombow Wow, when it special summons Box of Friends, does not also destroy the normal monsters. The normal monsters will live an extra 2 turns if your opponent doesn't destroy them themselves. Now on to the spell cards. There's 3 Mystical Space Typhoon to deal with any problem cards that the opponent might have. Soul Drain is a pretty big problem card, and so is Royal Decree, as you can see by our large trap lineup. Next, 1 for 1. 1 for 1, you discard any monster card, not normal monster, any monster card, and you special summon a level 1 monster from the deck. So, let's say you have a Gemknight Garnet just sitting in your hand. 1 for 1, discard that Gemknight Garnet, special summon a Box of Friends, and then, when it's destroyed, get 2 more normal monsters. Then, I'm not done yet. You XYZ into King of the Feral Imps. King of the Feral Imps will allow you to search out that Masked Chameleon, and then when you normal summon that Masked Chameleon, you get to special summon the Gemknight Garnet that you sent with 1 for 1. Now onto our traps. This deck can play so many traps. Because it's special summons from the deck, it doesn't need you to draw into the monsters. So, starting off, we have 2 Black Horn of Heaven. Black Horn of Heaven is a counter trap, meaning it cannot be responded to unless it's with another counter trap. You can't use Trap Stun, you can't use Royal Decree to stop Black Horn of Heaven. Black Horn of Heaven, when your opponent XYZ summons or Synchro summons or does some other form of special summon, you get to negate that summon and then destroy that monster. So let's say your opponent XYZ summons their Gaga Cowboy and they're about to burn you for game. Black Horn of Heaven, don't have to pay any life points, unlike Solemn Warning, and you still destroy the monster. Next, Bottomless Trap Hole. Bottomless Trap Hole, you destroy the monster that is 1,500 or more attack, that has just been summoned at all. Flip summoned, bottomless. Special summoned, bottomless. Normal summoned, bottomless. Bottomless Trap Hole will destroy that monster and then banish it, but it needs to destroy it in order to banish it. Next, Compulsory Evacuation Device. You target 1 monster on the field and return that target to the hand. So it's really good against Synchro monsters or XYZs because it just returns them to the extra deck. It's also good against monsters like Yubel that would require itself to be destroyed, but is completely useless in the hand. You just use compulsory evacuation device, Yubel goes back to the hand, and then they have to tribute summon it or find some other way to get it into the grave. It's just painful for them. Next, Dimensional Prison. It's a little bit slower than cards like Compulsory Evacuation Device and Bottomless Trap Hole because you need for them to attack, but it does banish that monster. So monsters like Beals, which cannot be destroyed by card effects, will be killed by Dimensional Prison, which just banishes it. Bottomless Trap Hole cannot destroy Beals. Fiendish Chain is our next trap. Fiendish Chain targets an effect monster. These are normal monsters, so they won't be affected by Fiendish Chain. But it will target a normal monster and negate that effect, and also make it so that monster cannot attack. So, if there's a problem card that you just need to get rid of right now, you need to stop that effect, use Fiendish Chain. Then that monster can't activate that effect, and they can't attack you. It's just a really good card. Limit Reverse. Limit Reverse is awesome in this deck. I also have a third one in the side here, but Limit Reverse targets a monster with 1,000 or less attack in the graveyard and special summons it. Well, 1,000 or less attack, that's all of the high defense monsters, Box of Friends, Zombow Wow, and Rescue Rabbit, if somehow it got into the grave. But that's not all. Limit Reverse. When you switch your monster to defense position, it destroys Limit Reverse and your monster. If you special summoned Box of Friends with Limit Reverse and then you switch Box of Friends to defense position, well, you just get 2 normal monsters that are level 4 from your deck instantly for just Limit Reverse. However, I must say you must activate Limit Reverse during the end phase of your opponent's turn, because if you activate it during your turn and then try to switch Box of Friends to defense position, you can't, because Box of Friends was summoned that turn in attack position. Just like how you can't normal summon a monster and then immediately switch it to defense. Mirror Force is our next trap. Mirror Force is very good. It destroys all monsters in attack position when a monster attacks. So it's similar to Dimensional Prison, but it hits more of your opponent's monsters. However, it can't hit monsters like Beals, which can't be destroyed by card effects. Mistake. Mistake is very good at surprising your opponent, and many of the cards in this deck don't even deal with adding. The only card that does is King of the Feral Imps, which you don't have to go into. You can go into one of the many other XYZ monsters that are in this deck. Mistake can be used against cards like Reinforcement of the Army, Pot of Duality, Brotherhood of the Firefist Bear, Tenki. Brotherhood of the Firefist Bear only adds to the field, not to the hand. Ha 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 ha. Okay, anyways, Mistake is a good card, and sometimes it doesn't work against certain decks, and that's where we'd put it into the side deck. But Mistake is a very good card against certain decks and certain cards, where it just makes those cards completely useless. Next, 7 Tools of the Bandit. Now, 7 Tools of the Bandit can be switched out for Wiretap, since it's essentially the same thing, but I like 7 Tools of the Bandit better because it does destroy the card instead of putting it back into the deck. So, 7 Tools of the Bandit better for later game than Wiretap, because Wiretap will allow you to draw it more frequently in the later game. 7 Tools of the Bandit, however, does have the 1,000 life point cost, but as I said before, it does destroy that trap, which I personally prefer. You can look at Wiretap and you can decide for yourself. Torrential Tribute is the next trap. Torrential Tribute is very good for clearing the board of all of the monsters. When a monster is summoned at all. Flip summoned, normal summoned, special summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. Once again, can't hit Beals, just like Bottomless, just like Mirror Force, but it does destroy everything else. Next, XYZ Reborn. If you happen to have any one of these XYZ monsters in the graveyard, you can use XYZ Reborn. Bring that monster back to the field, attach XYZ Reborn to that monster, and then get the effects. So, let's say they only have 800 life points left, and they destroyed your Gaga Cowboy. XYZ Reborn, target Gaga Cowboy. Special summon it in defense position. Use Gaga Cowboy's effect. Inflict that 800 damage. And that's game. That's the entire main deck, but let's talk a little bit about the side deck. I have 2 DNA Surgery in here. DNA Surgery allows you to change the typing of all monsters on the field to a specific type. It works very well in specific situations or in a very general situation that I'll talk about right now. DNA Surgery can declare any type, so you could make your monsters dinosaur type. And then you can use Rescue Rabbit to special summon 2 dinosaurs, which you can then use your Evil Czar Logia that you just added in from the side deck. And then you'll have a really, really good XYZ monster on the field. DNA Surgery also makes it so that Bujin monsters suck, as in there won't be any Beast Warriors on the field, so all of the Bujin cards will be useless. Next, Gozen Match. Gozen Match makes it so that each player can only control one attribute of monster. That would be something like Earth or Fire. You can only control one attribute. And because the Gem Knights and the Soul Tiger are all Earths, and so is the Masked Chameleon, it's extremely easy to use Gozen Match in this deck. Imperial Iron Wall is good against, well, some of the decks that banish, which we don't really like because there's only one card in our deck that really banishes. And we don't like it that our monsters are banished because then Masked Chameleon won't work. And so will Limit Reverse. There is the 3rd Limit Reverse in the side deck. Next, Memory of an Adversary. If your opponent has a monster that you kind of want, you can use Memory of an Adversary, take the attack directly as damage to your life points, then that monster is removed from play, and then you get it during the end phase of your opponent's next turn. So if they have a Beals on their side of the field, Memory of an Adversary, you take the 3,000, but then you will get back a monster that is almost invincible. Next, Safe Zone. If there's a monster that you want to protect, or if there's a monster that you want to destroy, Safe Zone may be pretty great. If you're up against something like Harpies, which like to destroy all of your spells and traps, well, Safe Zone may be a very good option, because Safe Zone, when it's destroyed, destroys the monster it's equipped to. So if they use Mystical Space Typhoon, chain Safe Zone, target their monster, and then they have essentially destroyed their monster with their own Mystical Space Typhoon, because Safe Zone is then destroyed and then their monster is destroyed. Safe Zone also makes it so the monster that it's equipped to cannot attack directly and cannot be destroyed or targeted by card effects. Next is Solemn Warning. When a monster would be summoned, or when any card would be activated that would summon a monster, pay 2,000, negate that. It's really good, but since Black Horn of Heaven is no cost, is 0 cost, I usually don't need Solemn Warning, but it is in here in the rare case that I would bring it out of the side, or if you personally like Solemn Warning better. This card is Stygian Dirge. Oh my god, guys, this is such a great card against a lot of decks nowadays. Stygian Dirge is a continuous trap reducing the levels of all of the opponent's monsters, not yours, just the opponent's monsters by 1. So let's say they're playing, I don't know, Fire Fists, and they have 2 level 4 Fire Fist monsters. They're ready to go into their XYZ. Flip Stygian Dirge. Ooh, those are both level 3 now. I don't think you can go into the level 4 XYZ with 2 level 3 monsters. Which means you can't set the spell or trap from the deck. And that means that you can't go Super Plus. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. It's also really good against decks like Hunders, which really only play level 4 monsters, or if you happen to find yourself in a mirror match. Well, since all that I play is level 4 XY, or rank 4 XYZs, Stygian Dirge makes it so that all of my rank 4 XYZs are unusable. So decks that are focused on special summoning just one level of monster are completely wrecked by Stygian Dirge. Next, the Huge Revolution is over. The Huge Revolution is over is sort of like a replacement Starlight Road. Starlight Road is an older card that when your opponent would destroy multiple cards on your side of the field, you would activate it, special summon a Stardust, and negate the card that would destroy. Huge Revolution is over is slightly different. It's a counter trap, whereas Starlight Road is just a normal. And the Huge Revolution is over not only destroys the card that would cause you to have multiple cards destroyed, but it also banishes it. So it will negate the activation of that card and banish it. So if your opponent is, let's say, playing Fire Kings and they have their Garunics, they're about to destroy 2 or more of your monsters, Huge Revolution is over, and their Garunix is banished, unable to be brought back with their many spell cards and monster cards. Next, the Transmigration Prophecy. The Transmigration Prophecy is just one of the best trap cards nowadays. You target 2 cards in the graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. You can use them on your monsters. Let's say you have a Rescue Rabbit, but you have at least 2 of every single normal monster in the grave. Rescue Rabbit is dead. You can only special summon one of, so you can't special summon the 2 that it requires. Well, Transmigration Prophecy, send back 2 of your normal monsters, and then use Rescue Rabbit to then special summon them straight to the field. But that's not all. You can also target your opponent's cards. So let's say they're about to use their Inzektor Dragonfly effect, equipping their Hornet from the grave. Transmigration Prophecy, that Hornet is now in the deck, and you can't equip to Dragonfly anymore this turn. Next, Trap Stun. Now, we are playing a lot of traps, so it may be a bad idea to have our traps negated. But Trap Stun can negate your opponent's trap cards, which is exactly what we want. When I make my big play, I want it to go through. So I use Trap Stun to negate my opponent's card effects, my opponent's trap card effects. And then I can go through with my play, and I can kill my opponent. It will negate your trap cards, but generally, most of these trap cards are usable during your opponent's turn. So, when your opponent would do something, that would be when you'd chain one of your trap cards. And Trap Stun would be great when it's your turn. United Front. United Front is sort of a tech-in card. It's really useful in this deck because this deck brings out two of a kind, two of the same level a lot. United Front. When a trap card is activated while you control two or more face-up monsters with the same level, so Box of Friends is destroyed, you just activated Masked Chameleon's effect and special summoned a monster, and let's say they activate their Torrential Tribute, trying to destroy your monsters. Activate United Front in response. It's a counter trap, so it can only be responded to with counter traps, and it negates that trap and destroys it. So it can be used as another 7 Tools of the Bandit. We have 7 Tools of the Bandit, United Front, and Traps done all to negate the opponent's trap cards so that our plays go through. And then finally, to end the side deck, we have an Evolzar Logia to work with that DNA surgery. When you side in DNA surgery, just try sending in 2 Evolzar Logia. When you send in that DNA surgery, just try sending in 2 Evolzar Logia. Now on to the extra deck. We've got 2 Abyss Dweller. Mermails just won the UK Nationals, so they're pretty relevant, and Abyss Dweller destroys them. You would activate Abyss Dweller to negate all effects that activate in the grave during that turn, which means there are Mermail cards that would activate in the grave and destroy your cards are then negated. Daigusto Emerald is here because it creates so much advantage. Let's say you have some normal monsters in the grave. They're just leftovers from your XYZs earlier. Special summon Daigusto Emerald. Use its effect to special summon a normal monster from your grave and then go into another XYZ if you have a level 4 monster on your side of the field. Or you can use Daigusto Emerald, shuffle 3 monster cards back into the deck and draw a card. This will then make your Box of Friends a little bit more live. If you ran through most of your normal monsters, you can then use Box of Friends again after you've used your Daigusto Emerald. It also shuffles in the Masked Chameleons, so that way you can search them out with King of the Feral Imps, and just creates so much advantage. Usually, I just use Daigusto Emerald, draw more traps, set more traps, and then stop my opponent from making any plays. Next, we have Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. Evil Swarm Exciton Knight is just a good choice to go into when you're losing. When your opponent has more cards than you in their hand and on their side of the field, you can activate its effect, destroy all cards on the field except itself, and then your opponent takes no more damage for that turn. So Evil Swarm Exciton Knight is like a Torrential Tribute, but for everything. And whenever you want. It's only during your turn or your opponent's battle phase, but hey, that's a little bit more accessible than Torrential Tribute. Next is Gaga Cowboy. Gaga Cowboy is mainly used for dealing 800 damage when it's in defense position. However, it has a second ability. When it's in attack position and it detaches an XYZ material, when it attacks a monster, that monster will lose attack, and your monster, the Gaga Cowboy, will gain attack. Essentially, it's able to take down anything with 3,000 attack or less. So, let's say your opponent has a Stardust Dragon on their side of the field. Special summon your Gaga Cowboy in attack position, attack the Stardust, and then that Stardust will die, and you will deal 500 damage. It's just a good card to get over certain threats that are hard to get over with the other cards in this deck. For instance, if you've used your number 101s, use your Gaga Cowboy to finish off the threat. Next, King of the Feral Imps. King of the Feral Imps allows you to add back any reptile monster from your deck to your hand. So, let's say you detach a 0 defense monster with your King of the Feral Imps. Next turn, normal summon Masked Chameleon, special summon that monster, and then go into any of your rank 4 XYZs. Unfortunately, Masked Chameleon does have that extra thing where that's the only monster you can special summon during that turn, but it's not always all that relevant. King of the Feral Imps is at 2 in this deck because it can be added back with Daigusto Emerald, and the Masked Chameleons can be added back with Daigusto Emerald. So, let's say you've used both of your Masked Chameleons, and you've used a King of the Feral Imps. Next, use Daigusto Emerald, add back the 2 Masked Chameleons, draw a card, well, 2 Masked Chameleons and, let's say, a normal monster, then draw the card, and then make another King of the Feral Imps next turn, search out one of the Masked Chameleons from your deck, and then make another XYZ the next turn. It's just XYZs every single turn, and that's why I have 2 King of the Feral Imps, is to add that consistency. Next, Lavalval Chain. Lavalval Chain allows you to send any card from the deck to the graveyard. Now, if you're playing the Gem Knight Fusion build, you can send Gem Knight Fusion to the graveyard and then add it back by banishing a Gem Knight monster. However, this one has a second ability. You can choose a monster from your deck and then place it on top of your deck. So, let's say you want to draw into that Rescue Rabbit early on. Use Lavalval Chain's ability, put Rescue Rabbit on top of your deck, and then draw it the very next turn. Next, number 101, Silent Honor Arc. Number 101 allows you to detach 2 XYZ materials and take any special summoned monster in attack position and make it an XYZ material on Silent Honor Arc. Silent Honor Arc also has a second ability, where if it would be destroyed, you can detach an XYZ material. So, let's say your opponent has a Beals, which can't be destroyed by card effects, but you use your Silent Honor Arcanite to steal that Beals, make it an attachment, and then you attack, and their Mirror Force is worthless. It's a good card to just deal that 2100 damage when your opponent only has 1 card on their side of the field. But I must reiterate, only attack position monsters. I cannot count the number of times when people have made number 101 against my defense position monster and then try to steal it. And then go, what's going on? Nothing's happening. And then I go, you're right, because it's not in attack position. Next, number 103, Ragna Zero. Now, I don't know why this is an OCG card. It's actually in the TCG right now, has been released in Primal Origins as of this weekend. But number 103, Ragna Zero, is a very good card. It allows you to detach 1 XYZ material, target a monster with a different attack than its original attack, destroy it, and then draw 1 card. So let's say your opponent is playing Inzectors. They equip Inzector Hornet from their grave. Inzector Hornet, when it's equipped to a monster, raises that monster's attack by 500. Well, before they can even detach the Hornet, get their effects, and go plus, you will use number 103, Ragna Zero, destroy their Inzector monster, and draw 1 card. Inzector Ragna's number 103, Ragna Zero, is also very good against certain other decks like Fire Fists, which raise their attack all the time. And plus, Ragna Zero just allows you to draw more cards, draw more traps. It's just very good. And with XYZ Reborn, you can reborn that Ragna Zero, get in that last destruction, and draw that last card. It's just very good. Next, Princess Cologne. Princess Cologne, When it's XYZ summoned, special summons a box of friends from the graveyard. Then its other ability is that when a normal monster is destroyed, you can detach one material and special summon a normal monster from your deck or your graveyard. So, let's say they just killed your box of friends. Then they killed one of the monsters you special summoned with it. Let's say your Gem Knight Garnet. You can detach a material from Princess Cologne and then special summon Gem Knight Sapphire from your grave, thus stopping your opponent from destroying any more of your monsters, if they have low enough attack. Princess Cologne has yet another ability. When it is not the only monster on your side of the field, as in when you have, let's say, a box of friends or a normal monster on your side of the field, it cannot be targeted by card effects or attacks. Now, let's say you have your Princess Cologne in attack position and your box of friends in defense position. When your opponent tries to make number 101 to try and steal your Princess Cologne, read them Princess Cologne's effect. And then they can't do that with their number 101. It is just a very good card, and really, the only cards that can get rid of it are Dark Hole, Torrential Tribute, and Mirror Force, because they're really the only mass removal cards in the game right now. Princess Cologne is just a very good card that is great with the Box of Friends archetype, which is why I'm running 2, is because it's just so good. It's high defense and just great effect. However, I must point out that Masked Chameleon, when its effect is used to special summon a 0 defense monster from your grave, you can only go into an XYZ monster for the rest of that turn, meaning you cannot special summon Box of Friends with Princess Cologne's effect if you did use Masked Chameleon to go into Princess Cologne. Next, number 50, Black Ship of Corn. I never make any deck that uses level 4 monsters without putting at least one Black Ship of Corn in. If my opponent has a monster I can't necessarily get over, for instance, if they have a large defense monster in defense position, I can't steal it with number 101. I can't pop it with Regna 0, they didn't change the attack. I can't attack over it with Gaga Cowboy. I mean, they're only their attack changes, not their defense. So, one of my only options can be Black Ship of Corn. Black Ship of Corn doesn't destroy, it sends. So let's say your opponent happens to have a Zenmains on the field, a wind-up Zenmains. Wind-up Zenmains, if it would be destroyed, detaches a material instead, and during the end phase, destroys a card because it is detached. Black Ship of Corn sends it to the grave, so it wouldn't even get the chance to save itself. Black Ship of Corn also sends number 101, so number 101 can't save itself. And after that monster that has been sent hits the grave, you deal 1,000 damage. So, let's say your opponent had a Battle Fader that was special summoned due to its effect. When you Black Ship of Corn, it goes to the banished zone because it was special summoned due to its effect, so you don't deal the 1,000. But you have gotten rid of another monster on your opponent's side of the field. Black Ship of Corn is just a really good removal card, and I'm proud to make it a part of my deck. And finally, Photon Papilloperative. Photon Papilloperative is really good against stall decks or other decks that are just trying to wait and win maybe a little bit later. Maybe they're just trying to live that extra turn. Photon Papilloperative says no. Photon Papilloperative targets one defense position monster, face down or face up, and changes it to face up attack position, and then makes that monster lose 600 attack. Wait a second. Once it loses 600 attack, you can use Ragna 0 to destroy it. That's one of the many uses of Photon Papilloperative. But let's just say you use Photon Papilloperative to target a defense position Marshmallow. Marshmallow can't usually be destroyed by battle, but when you use Photon Papilloperative, switch it to attack and make it lose 600 attack, it then has 0 attack, making it extremely vulnerable to damage. Then you attack it with 2100 attack, 2100 damage. Then you attack it with 2400 attack, 2400 damage. All in all, Photon Papilloperative is very good in specific instances, including against those defense position monsters that you would also use Black Ship of Corn to destroy. I must note, Black Ship of Corn can only destroy or send monsters that have attacks equal or less than it. So, if your opponent would have a Ragna 0, it would not be sent because it has more attack than the Black Ship of Corn. So, that was my long deck profile for the box of spam. I hope you liked it. If you did, be sure to not do anything. Don't even drop a like if you do. Oh boy, if you do. But no, I'm just kidding. If you really want to like it. Please like it, and you might as well subscribe. Anyways, this has been Geranium Battle.